Welcome in, everybody, to BettingPros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. Joining me is the Undertaker, Andrew Erickson, for a look ahead at the championship games this Sunday. That's right, we have our Final Four, everybody, and we are just one more round away from the Super Bowl, which... oh, we'll talk about that for days and days and days and days. But Andrew Erickson, certainly a really fun weekend of football past us. Maybe not so much if you're a Lions fan. Maybe things were a little bit tougher for you. I get that. That was a tough kick in the nuts. Ravens fans as well. Very difficult there to watch literally that game slip through the hands of Mark Andrews. Not once, but twice. But we are on to Buffalo, Kansas City. We are on to the Commanders and Eagles. And Andrew Erickson, what's so interesting about the Commanders and Eagles is we talk about it all season long. These teams in divisions are built to play each other. And now they're going to play each other in an NFC Championship game. Jayden Daniels has put on an incredible performance these last few weeks. He is the truth. He could do something that nobody's done, right? Rookie quarterbacks don't get to Super Bowls, right? He is right here on the precipice of doing that. Right now, I got to tell you, I understand there was some weather in that Philadelphia game. I get all that. Jalen Hurts looks hurt to me, and I can tell you, I'm sure they're going to pump him full of all sorts of fun things to play this game. I think the confidence right now, the Commanders, dare I say, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, Andrew Erickson.
I mean, you're probably not alone. I mean, I was pretty surprised to see how big the spread is, but you know, it's there for a reason. There is a reason why it's more than a field goal, despite the fact that we've seen this team play the Philadelphia Eagles in games that I believe the first matchup was by a field goal spread. Now that was at home for the Commanders, so it's a little bit different. But I look with the Jalen Hurts, you know, he's banged up. He's not the recipe for them to win games. Wait, has this been the Jalen Hurts? Oh, it's been Jalen Hurts year. That's the reason the Eagles are here. That is not true whatsoever. They're here because of Saquon Barkley and their defense. So that's where I've kind of look at this matchup where I don't really care what Hurts does. All he has to do is do enough, which is what he's been doing the past month or so, where he's throwing for every time I look, his pass attempts prop is down from the week before every single week, because that's not how the Eagles win games. They win the games by Saquon Barkley rushing for 200 yards and their defense locking down the opposing offense. So yes, do the Commanders have the matchup advantage with the quarterback? Yeah. I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying that. Jayden Daniels is clearly playing much better quarterback than Jalen Hurts is. But the other factor, who has better defense? The Eagles do. Who has better run game? The Eagles do. And who can't stop the run? The Washington Commanders. I mean, if they had just given the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, I think the Lions would have had a better shot of winning that game. So.
Maybe. Well, they did certainly feed Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs certainly had some moments. Look, you can't turn the ball over as much as the Lions did, or as much as the Ravens did. Let's be honest. Turnovers will kill you in these playoff games against good teams.
You know who hasn't been turning the ball over either? Hurts doesn't try to turn the ball. He's very I'm not throwing it into any tight window.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between playing conservatively and smartly and then playing limited. I'm worried about the limitations there, but we're going to get into it. Matt Peralta and I just did a live stream. If you missed it, you can go back and watch on the channel too, where we broke down these games too. I've also got an approach I want to take to some of these games too, looking ahead at some of the exactas, because I think there's some extraordinary value if you see the board the way I do, maybe not the way Andrew Erickson does. But let's start here. Washington Commanders, right now 6-point underdogs going on the road to Philadelphia. You can throw that last game that they played against each other out the window because of the injuries there at the quarterback position. 47.5 is the total, plus 240 on the money line for the Commanders. Now, Matt Peralta was saying that he thinks this is going to get to 7. You're seeing it at 6.5 already in some markets, and he's waiting for it to get to 7. Now, he's like me. He thinks the Commanders can keep this one close. Jayden Daniels, you know, the ice water in the veins, whatever you want to call it, man. That dude is unfazed. I think it is much tougher to go in and win in Detroit in that setup against that team with everything, with the noise in that building inside, than it is to go to a place where you are familiar and you are comfortable. And I got to tell you, I think it's a very different situation that he's walking into. And maybe he falls short, and maybe this is when Cinderella loses the slipper. But I am on the Commander side here with the points, Andrew Erickson. You must feel differently.
I do, because I think for some reason, and I don't disagree with your analysis of it. I think it makes sense when you're just, Joe Schmo or Joe Pisapia is looking at this line. It's like, wait, why would I not just take the...
Although I did see the Joe Schmo show is returning, which I'm very excited about. I love the original. It was very entertaining. What if the whole world was just a reality show and I was the only one who was being real? But paid actors around me.
But why would you not just take the Commanders, especially if it gets to +7? That seems like it makes so much sense to me. But then
Sure.
I'm looking again, well, why is the line what it is then? Like, why is more money coming in on the Philadelphia Eagles? Because they're playing at home, they're a dominant defense, and they can run the football against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL.
Sure.
So for me, I'm kind of like,
And they're also the team that's been there the most. Like, you have to also keep in mind, this is also a team that's perennially been in the
mhm,
playoffs the last 3 years now.
yep.
So there's a comfortability in the market to bet the Eagles. They're at home, they are experienced. Why would you? But again, if you kept using that logic last week, then Jayden Daniels had no shot.
Well,
And
that's what we
you are
thought.
the
That's what we all
guy.
thought.
But isn't there a guy who sat here for, I don't know, 20 weeks now and told me about these in-division games, man, these teams, it's always much closer than you realize. Shouldn't you be on the Commanders even if you think the Eagles are going to win?
I, I again, I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around the spread. I would say is where I struggle
So
here.
what would you set it at then?
I mean, it should be
What would your number
closer.
be?
Like, I don't disagree with you. I think it should be like if I was again, I haven't done the full BP write up, but again, I ultimately think the Eagles are just going to win. So that's kind of like the side that my mind is kind of going to. And when you're going to, I do disagree with you about the environment, though. I think going to play on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles defense is way different than playing against the Lions defense. That's terrible. Like, yes, Daniels has been amazing.
Oh, I meant from the volume of that building. That building was so loud you could not hear the announcers.
I
That's
mean,
how loud that bill is. Crazy for the first 10 minutes of that game.
look,
And then the points started
I don't think
pouring
it really
in.
matters. I mean, like, I think Daniels has shown that it doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, the guy's on, like you said, like he's unfazed by anything. Like, it could be, I don't know how loud. Just like it could be the loudest stadium ever, and it probably wouldn't make a difference with Jayden Daniels. But I just go back to how do the Eagles win games? How do they cover spreads as they play defense and run the football? Right. So that's kind of where this line, I guess in my mind, I'm trying to explain, like, how is this a touchdown? Like, how are the Eagles favored by a touchdown? But the last couple times I've been like, am I taking crazy pills? I've been totally on the wrong side of those games the last couple times. So I'm trying to learn a lesson, be like, all right, I think I'm taking crazy pills. Maybe I'm not taking crazy pills, and maybe there's a reason why the Eagles are such heavy home favorites. So I'm leaning towards the Eagles side of things, but I don't necessarily disagree with your rationale for being on the Commanders. And ultimately, I think the Eagles win, and that's kind of what I feel the most confident about.
I agree with Peralta. If you like the
Yes, that would. Yeah.
Commanders, you wait. You wait as long as you can, and you try to lock in the biggest number you
Also,
can. And that's why you set the custom line alerts on the BettingPros app. Download it, sync your sports books for free, set the line alerts, wait for it to hit 7. When it hits 7, then you jump in there, and I think that's probably your best approach. And you can take the Terrell approach too, which is sprinkle some of the plus 240 just for S's and G's. Go ahead.
I will say the one thing that you can't forget, Joe, all year long. What happens to teams after they play the Lions? What happens to those teams?
Well, after they lose to
No,
the
no, no. It's just that they
Lions,
play.
it was
No,
after
no.
they lose to the
It's just that they
Lions.
play the Lions. Because again, obviously, most teams lose to the Lions, right? So,
I was gonna say because they all lose. It's the Honolulu flu. I get it. I
but
get it.
every
I get it. But
team.
they won.
Okay, but it still doesn't matter. Like every team that plays the Lions the next week, there's been one team that's on a normal amount of rest because you've seen a couple teams cover when they've had rest advantages after playing the Detroit Lions. Only one team has covered after playing the Lions, and it was the Chicago Bears in that gross Thursday night game after Christmas where the final score was 6-3 and the spread was 3.5 points.
Oh, God,
That yes,
that was the
that's the
worst
one
thing
game
ever.
this year where a team is covered after playing the Lions. So again, if you're into the trends, that's another reason why, hey, maybe this is why the Commanders don't cover it because maybe they're getting overinflated because of what they did to the Detroit Lions defense. That I mean, with that once they lost Meek Robertson, like they couldn't do anything defensively, and the Eagles are on the total end of the spectrum where the defense for the Eagles is viewed as the number one defense in the NFL. So yeah,
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The defense did play the last time against Jayden Daniels, even though Jalen Hurts got knocked out of that game.
yes,
How many points did the Eagles defense give
they
up
scored
to
a lot of
Jayden
points,
Daniels?
especially in the fourth
That's a lot
quarter.
of
But Devontae
points.
Smith did drop a pass that gave the Commanders a chance to get back in the game. So keep that in mind too. They would have.
He's always
Yeah,
capable of that. Remember that.
yes.
That's always capable. The total is 47.5 right now. Now that it's funny, 47.5 for both games, which is kind of like jerks. Like, what are you doing? That's no fun at all. Why do you give me the same total on 2 games, Vegas? You're a bunch of jerks. But do you have a lean right now on this number at all before we start to dissect Buffalo and KC?
I mean, I like the unders. I mean, you have Cole, but again, you're coming off 2 games where you had an over game with the snow because it seems like every snow game just like scores a flurry of points.
Mhm.
See what I did there? So
Oh, well
I
done.
like both games, honestly. Again, we haven't gone Chiefs Bills yet, but I like both games to go under 47.5. And if you look at just historically what's happened when these two teams play at home, like Eagles games, 9 of the last 10 home games they've played have gone under the total. Last week it didn't, but Stafford was making plays left and right. So I think that these are both unders for me.
All right, let's take a look and see if Josh Allen can exercise the demons. You're getting +1.5 on the Bills. In most markets, you're looking at -1.5 on Kansas City. So no Patrick Mahomes underdog. So we could take that narrative out of it. The total, as Andrew said, is 47.5. He's in the under for that one, which that one I'm not so sure about too. I think these teams just let it all hang out. +110 on the money line for the Buffalo Bills, -130 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Andrew Erickson, you can't just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to beat them into submission. And I just don't know if they're ready to be beaten into submission. I just don't. Recent trends tell you also the guys who win MVPs typically either don't win Super Bowls or even get to the Super Bowl. It's been Josh Allen's year. I think he's probably going to win the MVP when all is said and done. Maybe it's Lamar, but it does feel like Josh Allen was the way things were going at the end. But here we are, the Buffalo Bills. Once again, I'm worried about that defense, and that defense did come up with a big play in a big moment, knocking that ball out for Mark Andrews. I give them a ton of credit on that one. But then they did on the very next drive let Lamar Jackson march down the field and basically should have tied that football game. That is my concern with the Buffalo Bills defense. The Chiefs don't miss in those spots. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens just never hitting them. That is the big difference to me. I'm on the Chiefs here. I don't think this is the exercising of the demons for Josh Allen, unfortunately. I love Josh Allen. He's a good dude. I don't think he gets it here. I think the Chiefs smell this three-peat, and they are one game away. What are your thoughts?
I feel like the Chiefs aren't even playing their best football. Like isn't that such,
No,
isn't that
not.
such a scary thought?
But they show you these glimmers like every week they're getting better. It's like, man, by the time we get to February 9th, we're going to be really good.
I mean, that's what I'm
right?
afraid
Like, that's
for.
kind of what it feels
Whoever
like.
again, I'm on the Chiefs side here too until I'm just going to keep betting on Mahomes until I have a reason not to, right? Again, it's just like you think that, oh, finally we're going to get parity. Finally it's going to be somebody else. And then it never is. Like, there's a reason why the Patriots won all those Super Bowls because they were the best team and they're the best team every single year. And yes, they went through a
Best
spell.
quarterback, best coach. Yeah.
It just.
And what did they do? They always took care of their business in the regular season, had a first round bye, and had 2 home playoff games to get there. And guess what? That's a much easier road than going on the road. It's so much easier than going to hostile environments to be playing at home in your own bed 2 weeks to get to the Super Bowl. That's why it was a special sauce.
And I think too, it almost works in the Bills or the Chiefs' favor that the one team that did beat them this year was the Bills. Right. So they have like a motivation
100%.
That's, oh, this is the one team that beat us besides the Denver game that didn't really count. Whereas you might think, oh, well, Buffalo knows, hey, we beat this team already. Like we can match up with these guys. I feel like that motivation doesn't work, especially after Josh Allen was like post-game, like nobody believed in us. Like we don't have any talent. It's like, all right, man, like people believed in you. Maybe they were underdogs at home. So I will give him that point. And I like the Ravens too, but yeah, I'm on the Chiefs side here.
Well, look, all the sharps I think were on the Ravens this past week, and honestly, I don't think it was wrong.
Well, they turn the ball over. Turn the ball over, you lose.
Are they allergic to giving Derrick Henry the ball in 2-point conversions? I'm just curious. Is that like, I mean, it's snowing. It's 10 degrees. You've got Derrick Henry 2 yards away from a goal line. Can we just hand the ball to Derrick Henry? Can we just do that once in a while?
I mean, it should have worked out. The one live bet that I made was the Derrick Henry over in the second half, which hit like in the first drive.
There you go. Well, look, here's the other thing too. I do think it's ironic that is the loss that they have, right? Yeah. Because I think it's the best thing that could happen for the Bills because it gives them confidence that, look, we can do this, right? We can take it to them. We've done it before. We could do this, right? But it's the best thing that could happen to the Chiefs too, and that's the worst thing that could happen to the Bills because they already know this is the one that got us. This is the one that cost us a perfect season on the way there. We know how dangerous they are. We've seen them before. We know they're going to bring everything we've got, and we're going to be prepared for it. So it's not like they're sleepwalking through a lesser opponent. They are going to be ready to go. And honestly, I think the winner's coming out of the AFC regardless. I don't think either of those 2 teams in the NFC are going to win. That's my opinion. When they get there, especially if it's the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs would destroy the Commanders. Yeah. I think the Chiefs will handle the Eagles and Nick Sirianni once again. And Spagnuolo is going to continue to do what he does, which is, we give Andy Reid a lot of credit. I don't think we give Spagnuolo enough credit. He's one of the great defensive coordinators we've ever seen in the league. And he has beaten Tom Brady twice. He has gone out there with Patrick Mahomes and this team here with Andy Reid. And yeah, the offense makes some plays, but man, the defense does too sometimes. And you got to give them credit. They dial it up at the right time. They did it again against the Texans in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I just think that until we see it, don't ruin your Sunday. Don't bet against Patrick Mahomes at home in the playoffs. Like that's just how you ruin your Sunday. So again, ending from like a live perspective, it's just, the Bills jump out to a lead. Well, take the Chiefs money line. There you go. You get great value on the Chiefs live. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Patrick Mahomes on the way to the three-peat.
All right, real quick, I want to talk about this because I talked about it on the live stream. So if you're like me and you think, all right, I think the Commanders have whatever it is, they've got that thing, but I think it's going to run out. This is what I just do. You can right now, on FanDuel at least, bet the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Washington Commanders at plus 750. And if you really believe in Josh Allen, you could also bet the Buffalo Bills to beat the Commanders at plus 900. Now, you're going to lose a unit here, right? Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. But if you think the Commanders get there, and no matter what, lose to one of these AFC teams, as I believe, yeah, you're going to eat a little bit, but this is one of the best hedges you can get. Instead of betting this team to win the Super Bowl outright or this, take these exacts right now that you can get, because you're going to eat a unit, but these returns of plus 750 and plus 900, I'm still coming up way in the black on those. Andrew Erickson, the other numbers that exist right now, again, these are on FanDuel. I'm not sure what the other numbers are on other sites, but Philly to beat the Bills plus 470, Philly to beat the Chiefs plus 380, Bills to beat the Eagles plus 430, and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles plus 360. So again, some good returns, almost plus 400 on all of them. So it's almost like choose your own adventure, but the one that gives you the biggest profit return is the Commanders getting there and losing to one of the AFC teams. What do you think about my master plan?
I think I like it. Yeah, because I think that I don't know what the odds are for, which conference wins the Super Bowl now. I have to imagine it's on the AFC side. Yeah, I got to imagine it's minus a large number for the AFC to win. So this is a way you can kind of like, hey, the market is telling us the AFC is going to win, and we think they're going to win. How can we take advantage of that with the biggest payout? And I think that you kind of laid out the perfect strategy there.
And it's not about betting the hypothetical matchups either, because the hypothetical matchups, and things like that, like, okay, this team to face this. No. Just go right for you're going to beat them, because if I don't think any NFC team could beat any of the two AFC. I just don't. That's where I'm at. So the biggest return is the Commanders pull a rabbit out of their hat again, where you keep telling him they can't, and you keep making them the underdog, and Jayden Daniels gets up every morning, has his Cheerios, and plays some VR, and it goes out and kicks some ass, and guess what? He's all out of Cheerios right now. All he's got left is ass kickings to hand out. That's what it feels like right now. So we're going to continue to break down this game more tomorrow. Andrew and I will be live Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern on the channel. We're going to have a lot of coverage here going through this weekend leading up to the games. We want you to be here for it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to BettingPros wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, don't forget to ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications so you never miss an episode of the podcast, of the live stream. We're here for you all year long in all things betting and all sports. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.